Hi YouTube, welcome to another edition of HorrorHands with me, the Brindog. And for this video I thought I'd talk about horror movies that I never hear anybody else mention. And I watch a lot of YouTube videos. I like to see the other collectors and to see what you've got. And there's just a few films that I have which it strikes me that I've either heard very few people talk about, or in some cases I've never heard anyone talk about these movies. And what I've done is I've tried to select films that I've never heard people talk about but are actually quite good, because I've got a lot of films which I've never heard people mention, and then you kind of watch the film and you realise why. But I've picked a small selection that I actually really enjoy but have not heard people talk about on their own channels. So the first film is a film called Beneath, and there's another film also with the same title, which is about some miners getting trapped. This isn't the same film. This one's about some teenagers that they go out on a lake and they get stuck in the middle of the lake in this little boat, and they get sort of stalked and killed off by this giant mutant catfish, which sounds a bit ridiculous, but it is actually a very, very well made film. I really enjoyed it, and what I liked about it is the monster gets a lot of screen time, but also it's not CGI. It's a rubber mechanical animatronic kind of creature. So I was really impressed with that, and I thought the film itself was very good, but not one that I've heard mentioned very often. The next film, this is a bit of a strange one. It's I think you pronounce it Mutated, which is kind of a film of two halves. Well, the first three quarters, it's kind of like a I Spit on Your Grave, kind of Last House on the Left kind of movie. These guys, they drive out to this isolated location with these women, and they sort of party a little bit, but then things take a more darker turn, and the guys attack and rape the women. It's very, very violent. It's actually banned in Italy, which kind of gives you a sense of how violent this is, if the Italians didn't even like it. But so that's sort of like the first three quarters of the film, and then towards the end, a legion of undead Roman soldiers comes out and kills everyone, which was really cool. But yeah, this isn't one that I've heard anybody ever mention, and it's not the best film I've seen, but it's quite well made, and the part with the undead soldiers was really cool. I'd much rather it had been had them in it more than what they were, because that would have made for a fantastic film. But yeah, this is not one that I've ever heard anyone talk about. The next film is a film that I was really impressed with. I actually saw this at the cinema and subsequently bought it. And it's a film called Chained, and it's a serial killer played by Vincent D'Onofrio. He picks up women in his taxi and takes them back and kills them. And he picks up this particular woman and kills her, but she has a young son who he takes, and he keeps chained up in his house, and he keeps him there for years and years and years, until this kid is like a late teenager, and that's what this film is about. But it's very disturbing, very effective, very, very well made. Fantastic performance by Vincent D'Onofrio and the kid, both the kid and the teenager who are in the film. But it's yeah, certainly one to check out. Very well made. The next one is Humanoids from the Deep, which I've mentioned in a few videos now, so I'm not gonna keep on about that one. The next film I've got is this is a very, very, very badly made film. It's a film called Mutilations. One of the most shoddily made horror films I've ever seen. But saying that, I had a lot of fun watching it. It's like an alien invasion movie where these students go into this little town to try and find out where these aliens come from. But it is so badly made. The acting is some of the worst I've seen. But strangely quite enjoyable. And I don't think I've ever even seen this in anyone's collection. So this one might just be me and my ridiculously poor taste in films. But if you like bad movies, Mutilations is certainly one to check out if you can get hold of it. The next one is Hell's Gate. This is a film that I saw at a movie convention. I'd never heard of it before. It was cheap, so I picked it up. And yeah, this one was a pretty decent movie. It's an Italian film, directed by Umberto Lenzi, and it's some people doing some kind of experiment in this cave, which kind of goes wrong, and they have to go in and get their colleague. But I think it's like some like demon monks or some zombie monks that are in these caves, and they start to kill off the people one by one. It's quite a slow burner, but there's some decent kills in it, and I enjoyed watching it. The next movie is one that I don't think I've ever heard anyone mention on YouTube, and I really don't know why, because this is an excellent film, and it's Tenement, which is a kind of Assault on Precinct 13 style film. These people who live in this apartment building, the neighbourhood is kind of like ravaged by gangs and things like that. And I think one of the people who lives in the building dubs them into the police. So this gang are arrested, but released a few hours later. So they come back to the apartment building and work their way up the floors, killing the people that live in the apartment building. The rest of the people living there who are still alive and who work out what's going on, they all make their way to the top floor in an effort to fight off the invading gang. But it's a really well made film, very violent and very gory in places. Highly recommend watching this if you like sort of exploitation type horror movies. This is certainly one to get hold of. The next movie, which again I've never heard anyone mention, is Mirror of Death. So one that was released by Troma. One of the more serious releases for Troma. It's a woman who she's escaped an abusive relationship, and I think she comes across this mirror where there's like a demon that's in this mirror, and then the demon goes into her. I think, if I remember that right, but I enjoyed it. Very low budget, but I enjoyed the story, and I thought it was one of the more decent releases for Troma. This next movie is possibly the rarest film I have in my collection. I don't know for sure, but it's certainly one of the most rarest films that I have, and it's Shriek of the Mutilated, which is an awesome Bigfoot Yeti type movie. Very low budget, very hollow acting, ridiculous effects, but an enjoyable film, and it actually has quite a good twist at the end. To be honest, it's didn't see it coming, and it's it was quite unexpected, and just a really enjoyable, fun film to watch. But again, I've never heard anybody mention it. I think this is an incredibly rare DVD now. I actually managed to get this ridiculously cheap, but I've not seen it recently for anything less than like £20 online, £70 online. So it's one of the more rarer ones, but very low budget, but a real fun film to watch. The next film is Left in Darkness. I'm trying to remember what this is all about. I think it's a girl that gets killed and she's kind of stuck in the netherworld and she tries to get back to the here and now. I think that's what it's about, if I remember it right. I remember really enjoying it. I thought this was a very good, very underrated film, and not one that's mentioned all that much. So yeah, Left in Darkness, pretty good one. This next movie is an interesting one, and it is Theatre Bizarre, starring Udo Kier, and it's an anthology movie. I think there's about 5 or 6, maybe 7 different stories in this, and they're kind of told at this strange rundown theatre where Udo Kier is hanging around, and yeah, a bit like VHS in that it's a variety of different stories, some quite weird and wonderful, but yeah, it was a good one. It was an interesting film, but again, not one that gets talked about all that much. The next film is The Brain, which is a really fun film. If you're into like low budget creature features, you should definitely check this one out. Yeah, just this big giant slimy rubbery brain that eats people. So lots of scenes of like actors almost scrambling into this creature's mouth so it can eat them. But yeah, really cool film. Very enjoyable. And the last film is again a film I don't think I've heard anyone ever mention, and I watched it and it really kind of took me back. I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting the film to play out like it did, and I also didn't expect it to be as good as it was. And it's the last horror movie, which is one of the most impressive films I've seen in a long time. And it's a film that starts out very generic. It starts out like a typical slasher film, and then suddenly the film that's on cuts off, and we're taken to a guy who is just recording himself talking, kind of like myself now. It just goes to him talking about himself, and he happens to be a serial killer, and he goes out and kills people and films himself doing it, and then talks in between, kind of does like a video diary. But what's striking about this guy is he's very smart, he's very educated, he's very well spoken, wears nice clothes, very well cultured, but he just happens to kill people as well. And he's very confident and cocky in the fact. But I've never quite seen a film like this in terms of what it is and its structure and the way it's made. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was an absolutely brilliant film, and I loved it for its originality. And its fresh take on the horror genre. But again, I've not seen anyone else mention this or give their review. So yeah, maybe check this one out and let me know what you think. So yeah, that's just some of the films that I have, which I've not heard people mention before. So hopefully there might be some there that you might want to go and watch and hopefully enjoy. Let me know if you have seen any of these and what you think, because it would be interesting to know if you agree and think they are good, or whether it's just me and my terrible film taste. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.